안녕하세요. Let's learn how to make negative sentences in Korean. Let's go. Let's learn how to make negative sentences in Korean. There are basically two ways. So you can say it's slightly more complicated than English, but you don't have to worry. I'll explain why shortly. Where you make a negative sentence, you can basically use this negative adverb an, and you add this an sound right before the predicate, a verb or an adjective predicate. An is grammatically an adverb, but not important at all to you. Let's see some examples right away. You know this verb 좋아해요, which means like in the present simple tense form. You can simply put an sound right before the predicate 좋아해요. 안 좋아해요. That's it, and it means not like or do not like. I wish it was a plain simple like this. Let's see the next verb. 공부해요, which means study in the present simple tense form. Of course, you can just say 안 공부해요, no problem. It still means not study. But I need to explain the concept of noun plus verb here. There are verbs in Korean which consist of one noun and one extra verb. They are mostly end in 하다 in their basic form, which means 하다 is the extra verb and the word right before 하다 is actually a noun. 공부하다, which is the basic form of 공부해요, is one of them. It is a combination of the noun 공부, which means study as a noun, and the verb 하다. The most important thing you need to learn on this page is you can split these noun plus verbs into the noun and the verb, where you make a negative sentence, and put the negative adverb 안 in between. So it becomes 공부 안 해요. What's the difference between 안 공부해요 and 공부 안 해요? I think 공부 안 해요 sounds more natural and smooth than 안 공부해요. One more thing, because the noun 공부 is now an object of the verb 하다, you can put the object particle 를 to the noun 공부 as well. So 공부를 안 해요 is also correct, but you can omit this object particle. There are also noun plus verbs that have a different verb than 하다. We'll see some examples of those in this lesson. It's the same with an adjective predicate. For example, 예뻐요, someone is pretty. 안 예뻐요, not pretty. Easy peasy. Next, you can also use the compound expression 지 않다. This is a compound expression, as I've just said, so you add it to the stem of a verb or an adjective and need to conjugate the 않다 part. 않다 is a predicate, which means not do or not is, basically. Let's use the same verb 좋아해요 again. The basic form of this verb is 좋아하다, and the stem is, of course, 좋아하. You add 지 안, and then you need to add 아요 if it's in the present simple tense form. So 좋아하지 않아요, and it would sound more like not. The meaning itself is exactly the same as 안 좋아해요. You might want to know the exact difference between these two, but I didn't find any better ways to explain this. So I would just say there are predicates strangely go better with 지 않다 than 안. So good news is, if you're not sure, you can just always use the negative adverb 안, which is easier to use anyway. No problem. One more thing that I want to mention is, if you use this compound expression 지 않다, you can add an auxiliary particle to provide more nuances. For example, you can add a topic particle 는, which can also provide a nuance of comparing or contrasting to the 지 sound. 좋아하지는 않아요. Then it would sound more like you're implying something else as well. Like, I don't like it, but, open the bracket, I eat it every day anyway. Close the bracket. Something like that. So the negative compound expression 지 않다 can be used usefully as you reach the advanced level in Korean. And there are, of course, some predicates that already contain negative meaning in it. Just like the English verb dislike. Of course, the this part makes this verb negative, but anyway. We have something similar in Korean too. Let's talk about those before we go to lesson 5 as well. The things like cannot and should not are totally different. We will talk about them when we learn the translation of the English auxiliary verbs in lesson 7. Now let's make some extra sentences. I don't sleep in the daytime or during the daytime, which means you don't take a nap during the daytime. The word order would be more like I, in the daytime, not sleep or sleep not. I, 저는 or 제가, in the daytime. The noun which means daytime in Korean is not. It's a time-related noun, thus you should add a time particle 에 and apply the sound linking rule. 낮에. Not sleep or sleep not. The base form of the verb to sleep is 자다. And the stem is 자. If you use the negative adverb 안, it's 앉아요. If you use the negative compound expression 지 않다, it's 자지 않아요. The stem 자 plus 지 안 plus the present tense ending 아요. 자지 않아요. Sleep not. 저는 낮에 안 자요. Or 저는 낮에 자지 않아요. As I've just told you, 자다 is a verb which means to sleep. There's also a noun plus verb you can use to mean to sleep. It's 잠자다. The 잠 sound here is a noun which means sleep. It is a noun, so 잠자다 is one of the noun plus verbs. There is no 하다 in it, but it is still a noun plus verb. So you can split it into a noun and a verb when you put the negative adverb 안. So 잠을 안 자요 is also correct. Of course, you can omit the object particle 을 if you want. 저는 낮에 잠을 안 자요. Okay? Let's see the next example in the present continuous tense. I am not sleeping now. The word order is going to be more like I, now, not am sleeping or am sleeping not. I, 저는, now, 지금. You cannot add a time particle 에 here because 지금 can be an adverb too. Not sleeping, 안 자고 있어요. You just add a continuous compound expression 고 있어요 at the end. 저는 지금 안 자고 있어요. Sleeping not. Now let's use the negative compound expression 지 않다. Please listen carefully because there are two options. You can add 지 않다 first and then add 고 있다 after. Or you can add 고 있다 first and then add 지 않다 after as well. The stem 자 plus the negative compound expression 지 안. Of course, you only use the stem 안 of 않다. Plus the continuous tense compound expression 고 있 plus the ending 어요. 자지 않고 있어요. 않고 here is pronounced 않고 rather than 안고. I'll tell you why in the next page. Now let's add a continuous tense first. The stem 자 plus the continuous tense 고 있 and the negative compound expression 지 안 plus 아요. 자고 있지 않아요. They both are perfectly correct. 저는 지금 자지 않고 있어요. Or 저는 지금 자고 있지 않아요. No worries, you can always just use an sound, which is easier to apply, okay? Now, let's see the next example, which is in the past tense. I didn't sleep last night. I, last night, didn't sleep or slept not. 저는 last night, 어젯밤에, 어제 means yesterday and 밤 means night. So 어젯밤 obviously means last night. But what is this s consonant added to the 제 sound of 어제? You don't need to know, but I'll briefly explain in the next page of the next page. You can add a time particle 에 here. 어젯밤에 not slept. 안 잤어요. Or slept not. 자 plus 지, 안 plus 았어요. 자지 않았어요. 저는 어젯밤에 안 잤어요. Or 저는 어젯밤에 자지 않았어요. I'll usually use the first sentence with 안 잤어요 because it's simpler. Let's learn why 않고 from 자지 않고 있어요 in the previous page is pronounced 않고 rather than 안고. There is a certain pronunciation rule in Korean saying where the initial consonant 그, 드, 부, or 즈 in the letter block meets the final consonant h in the formal block, it changes its sound to the aspirated sound k, t, p, or ch. So g becomes k, d becomes t, b becomes p, j becomes ch. I call it aspiration or aspirated sound. As you know, the final hit, hu, is silent. So you can think that this hu consonant adds one more stroke to the initial of the letter block instead of making sound as a final itself. So 자지 않고 있어요 is pronounced 자지 않고 있어요. That's it, and that's enough for now. Now let's learn why the s consonant is added to the 제 sound of 어제, of 어젯밤, which means last night. We can call it middle s consonant or middle siot. I'll explain briefly here, but you don't need to remember this rule because it will be extremely hard or almost impossible for you to apply this rule in reality. I recommend you should just memorize the spelling of the words with the middle siot. The middle siot means the final s consonant, which is used to link two nouns to make it one word. The middle siot is added where the word is a compound of two pure Korean words and its formal word ends in a vowel. In other words, where its formal word doesn't have a final consonant. Or where the word is a compound of one pure Korean word and one Chinese originated word and its formal word ends in a vowel. Whichever comes first. What do you think? What did I tell you? You wouldn't be able to apply this rule in reality. Let's quickly check out the examples and move on. 차 means a car. 길 means a path or a street. If you want to combine 차 and 길, you should add middle siot to the first word 차 because 차 is a word which has Chinese origin and 길 is a pure Korean word. So it is not 차길, it should be 찻길. You know why 길 is pronounced 길, right? It is the 40th rule that I explained in U2 Lesson 3 Part 3. Let's see the second example. 어제 means yesterday. 밤 means night. 어제 plus 밤. 어제 is a pure Korean word and 밤 is also a pure Korean word. So you add a middle siot to the last letter of the first word 제. That's why it became 어젯밤. 밤 here is pronounced 밤 because of the 40s rule again. If you don't remember it, you can go back to YouTube Lesson 3, Part 3. Again, you don't need to remember this rule. I explained just in case you're curious. Let's make a noun plus verb negative. 춤추다 means to dance. It is a noun plus verb. 춤 is a noun, which means a dance. And 추다 is the actual verb part. I am showing you the noun plus verbs without 하다 in this lesson because they are rare. Anyway, 춤추다 is also a noun plus verb. 춤추다 can be used as a one-word verb, but you can also split it into the noun part and the verb part, especially where you make a negative sentence using the negative adverb 안. So, 저는 안 춤춰요 is, well, good enough, but it would sound so much better if you say 저는 춤을 안 춰요. Of course, you can omit the object particle 을 here. Next example, I am not dancing now. Present continuous tense. 저는 지금 춤을 안 추고 있어요. Rather than 저는 지금 안 춤추고 있어요. Next example, I didn't dance last night. Past tense. 저는 어젯밤에 춤을 안 췄어요. You know how the stem 추 plus the past tense ending 었어요 becomes 쳤어요, right? Okay, great. This is the end of lesson 4 part 10. Let's talk about the predicates that already contain negative meaning in it in the next lesson. 안녕히 계세요.